Hi everybody, I'm Bill Whittle here with my friend and co-host Andrew Klavan, and every time I'm sitting here with Andrew, we've done hundreds of shows together now, hundreds, and every time I sit here opposite him, I'm reminded of my favorite Winston Churchill quote, which is, when you're going through hell, keep going.
We'll get to the end of this eventually,
Let's just get through this son of a bit. Yeah. Andrew, your topic today comes from, just Fleckmeister.
Right.
I guess we don't want to, he probably was just Fleckmeister before Obama took office. But it's a serious question, boys. It's about probably the most serious question I think we've ever had here, and I mean that sincerely. And the question is, why is God unable to forgive sins without Jesus dying?
That's a serious question.
It's a hell of a question.
Yeah. Well, first, we have to rephrase it a little, because it's not what God is able to do. God is able to do pretty much anything he pleases, being God. But why does he do it? Why does he do it? It's a fair question. I have to say, when I hear questions like this, I kind of imagine someone who thinks that, who's an atheist, or at least not a Christian, who sort of thinks he's smarter than this system.
Smarter than the whole thing.
And yet, probably, since they're watching us, they're probably conservative. If I said to them, isn't it great Obama is giving you free health care? They'd say, there is no such thing as free health care. Someone has to pay. Well, that's pretty much the answer right there, It's really,
wow.
but it really is Jesus, and Jesus' death is the solution to a riddle. And the riddle is this: how can God bring us back in line with what he wants for us without taking away our free will? And the story of the Bible is basically this: God creates people to be in a loving relationship with him. And if you look at your life, everything good about your life, everything vital about your life is about a loving relationship. And the quality of the thing you love are in that relationship is how much vitality you get. So I love the NFL, it's worthy, but I get a little vitality of that. I love my wife, I get a lot of vitality of that. If you love God, if you're in a loving relationship with God, you get the ultimate burst of vitality. You get what the Bible calls life in abundance. You don't have to believe in Genesis literally to look around you and know that people's wills are corrupted. They attach themselves to things that destroy them. We all do it. We're all in love with money. We're all in love with power. We're all in love with meaningless sex or pleasure or whatever. And our wills are corrupted. And, like I said, you don't have to think that comes from Adam eating an apple or anything. We just know that that's true. And so God has the riddle, the problem of how does he take people with a corrupted will and bring them back into a loving relationship with him without taking their will away, without just grabbing them and saying, love me, just turning us into love robots. If you think about it, Jesus is kind of Eden reborn. He's like the relationship of man with God in perfection. That's who he is. He's man and God in perfection. Sending him to us is like shining a light on what we're supposed to be. And when you do that to people, when you shine a light on what people are, they immediately say, hey, turn that off because I look like a cockroach when you shine that light on. The death of Jesus is our will for what we want. We want that light turned off. We want to turn off that light so we can go back to screwing up our lives and screwing up who we are. The way it works out is by killing Jesus. Remember, God doesn't need Jesus to die. We need Jesus to die. It's like the Batman movie. He dies because we have to kill him. When we kill Jesus, we reconnect him to ourselves. He goes through a moment of absolute despair, absolute emptiness, absolute forsakenness by himself. God forsaken by God. That lets him know what life we're living. It lets him know who we are. And so it opens up a pathway for him to understand us again, so that we can get back to him. It's as if we're on this underground tunnel and he opens up a kind of Steve McQueen exit off to the side. And his resurrection is proof that this is the way we should go. It's like this is, if you go this way, you're going to have life in abundance, in such abundance that it never ends. And so it really is the solution to a very difficult riddle. Or the riddle is, how do I take, it's like judo, it's like jujitsu. God uses our corrupted will in killing him to reconnect us to him. It's a pretty clever solution. I don't have a better one, but it's also a very brutal thing. And it's like it takes God into that place of death that all the rest of us have to go through because of our corrupted wills, and it connects us back. It connects him back to who we are now, which is in a very sad state.
Well, listening to you speak, I was reminded of that great Lenny Bruce line about how if Jesus came back today, everybody'd be walking around with little electric chairs around their neck.
Because we'd kill him again.
But that'd be every little electric chair. But that really had a profound thing to me, because really, when you get down to it, what Christians use as their as their symbol is the cross, which is not only an execution device, it's a particularly barbaric and very simple execution device. It's about the worst way you can go. It's right up there.
Yeah.
I think the point you made is really profound, and what it really comes down to is what is the lowest person's salvation worth? Right? What if you're a low-down alcoholic, wife-beating, dog-kicking son of a bitch, and you're just puking in an alley someplace? What is your soul worth? Well, if it turns out that your soul, yours, the lowest of the low, is worth the horrible death of this divine creature, then it does give you some value, doesn't it? It gives you some, sense of what the actual price tag is.
That's right.
And if Jesus had come down and done his parables and done everything, and then ascended into the clouds and said, guys, it's been absolutely fantastic, I can't wait to come back, you would look at it as a visit and a source of wisdom, but it wouldn't have cost him anything.
That's right.
It wouldn't have cost anything. And therefore, since it didn't cost anything, your value is essentially free. The one thing I learned from being a little kid is the more you want something, the harder you have to work for it, the more you're willing to pay, the more you enjoy it, the more you value it, the more expensive, and I don't mean necessarily in money, but the more costly is a better word. The more costly something is to you, the more you value it. And so you've set the cost of the lowest soul at the highest possible value.
That's right. I mean, the people. There are a lot of preachers who preach long sermons on how painful it was for Jesus to die. But the point is, a lot of people's deaths are painful, even more painful. The point is the difference, the distance he travels from perfection to this horror. It's an unjust death. It's a tortured death, as you say. And yes, and it is to reconnect with us. And people say, well, it's a sacrifice, as if we were performing a sacrifice. We're performing judicial murder. We're killing the guy. That's murder. It's a sacrifice from his point of view because he doesn't have to do it. I mean, and you're right. It is for the lowest of the low, and even more than in some ways than the highest of the high. And I don't know. I think when you get into it, when you see it from the inside, when you follow that path, it's kind of like the great arc, when you follow that path down into the tomb and out again. It's a very, very uplifting experience, and it changes your perspective on what life is and what it's about.
And the difference between Jesus' death and other horrible deaths, of course, is that he presumably at any moment could have just simply said, I'm out of here. Yeah. And most people who would take the I'm out of here would take the I'm out of here. I sure would too. If I was being tortured to death, out there there comes a point where I'd say, you know what, I'm going to go now. Good luck to you. If
that is the novel, The Last Temptation of Christ, it was made into such a bad movie, but that's what the novel is about. A novel is a brilliant novel.
Yeah. That's all we have time for today. You can let us know what questions you'd like answered below. For Andrew Klavan and PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for watching.